If you're looking for an awesome product at a great price, be sure to check out the link in the description. Heart-wrenching images of emaciated children in Gaza, their skeletal frames a stark testament to the ongoing humanitarian crisis, dominated headlines last week. These images, far from being mere news, served as a visceral wake-up call, jolting some world leaders and citizens from a state of stunned inertia. The siege of Gaza, a relentless barrage of destruction that began 21 months ago following the Hamas attacks of October 7, has now reached a horrifying crescendo. After months of relentless bombing and a civilian death toll reported in the tens of thousands, a chilling word echoes increasingly louder in media reports: famine. This isn't a famine born of natural disaster, a consequence of drought or pestilence. This is a man-made famine, a catastrophe entirely preventable with the stroke of a pen, a bureaucratic shift, a political agreement. This stark reality has thrust the Australian government, specifically Anthony Albanese's Labor administration, into the international spotlight as its first full week of federal parliament commences. The pressure is mounting, both internally and externally, for decisive action. The latest pressure point emerged on Monday, via a report by Benita Kolovos revealing the likely passage of a series of motions at the Victorian Labour State Conference. These motions urge immediate recognition of a Palestinian state and the implementation of sanctions against Israel, expanding upon existing sanctions levied against 2 Israeli ministers. This internal push reflects the palpable emotion and urgency felt amongst rank-and-file Labour members. Adding to the growing momentum, former Labour Foreign Minister Bob Carr publicly called for the immediate recognition of Palestine and sanctions against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Friday. Echoing this sentiment, former Cabinet Minister Ed Husic, a consistently compassionate and thoughtful voice within Labour on the Gaza conflict, declared, "The time is now." This surge of activism within Labour stands in contrast to the government's earlier condemnation of Greens Senator Mehreen Faruqi for displaying its Sanction Israel Now sign during Parliament's opening. The Albanese government maintains that Australia is not a major player in the Middle East, highlighting its consistent calls for adherence to international law and its substantial aid contributions, $100 million, as stated by Foreign Minister Penny Wong on Friday. While these points are factually accurate, supporters of Palestine within the Labour Party report near unanimous sentiment for the government to translate its words into concrete actions previously downplayed. This sentiment calls for Australia to potentially lead or even precede global sentiment on the issue. Minister Wong joined over 24 countries in expressing outrage over the deaths of hundreds of Palestinians at aid sites. Significantly, Prime Minister Albanese issued a subsequent statement with stronger language, underscoring the gravity of the situation. His Sunday statement went further still, explicitly accusing Israel of violating international law. This isn't merely symbolic posturing. Referencing the heartbreaking images of starving children, Albanese poignantly stated, "A 1-year-old boy is not a Hamas fighter." However, while acknowledging the severity of the situation, Albanese simultaneously rejected the immediate recognition of Palestine, citing conditions, including U.S. support, that appear to be months, if not years, away. Yet, a shift is undeniably underway. The outrage within Labour ranks regarding the Gaza crisis is intensifying, fueled by motions like the one from Victorian Labour, with many more anticipated. Originating from Labour Friends of Palestine, an internal campaign group, similar motions have circulated, garnering support from 80, and growing, local ALP branches, according to national co-convener Peter Moss. The recent endorsement by the Wentworth branch, located in a Sydney electorate with a significant Jewish population, highlights the widespread nature of this internal pressure. Moss emphasizes the unprecedented urgency of affirming Palestinian rights. Minister Wong has consistently stated that Australia no longer views Palestinian statehood as contingent upon the conclusion of the peace process, implying that recognition is possible at any time. Albanese, however, maintains that U.S. involvement is critical. Yet, proponents argue that Australia wouldn't be an outlier by moving forward with recognition. Former Foreign Minister Carr suggests that French President Emmanuel Macron's pledge to recognize Palestine provides sufficient precedent for Australia, negating the need for concerted action with the UK or the US. He believes that such a move would bolster Albanese's foreign policy standing, showcasing Australia's independent judgment. It's undeniable that the Albanese government and the Labour Party have voiced strong support for Palestinian civilians and international law, offering harsher criticism of Israel than many preceding governments. This stance, however, has drawn criticism from the opposition, the Israeli government, and the vocal outrage of the right-wing press. Conversely, for some, Labour's actions haven't gone far enough. Greens leader Larissa Waters succinctly stated, "Words, while welcome, won't feed starving kids." Even within the coalition, a subtle yet palpable shift in sentiment is detectable. Following Wong's statement, the opposition's response to the plight of starving Palestinians was notably muted. Shadow Foreign Minister Michaelia Cash dedicated 5 paragraphs to mentioning the suffering of the people of Gaza, only adding the importance of aid flows 2 paragraphs later, while her statement largely focused on criticizing Hamas, a terrorist group that Labour has condemned, stating it should have no role in future governance of Gaza and must return Israeli hostages. By Friday, Cash's statement at least acknowledged strong concerns about the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza. Some within the coalition express unease that their recent stance hasn't adequately addressed the man-made catastrophe. This inaction further underscores the opposition's struggle for relevance. The overarching challenge lies with Labour. Fresh from a resounding election victory and bolstered by an energized base, its members demand decisive action. While Albanese insists Palestinian statehood won't be a mere gesture, the party faithful